እንኳን ደህና መጣችሁ. This is so beautiful to see all of you. So it's going to be a mix of English and Amharic because we're going to do it with the kids. So first, very proud to be here. Very proud to see all of you here. And just want to say this is not something that I have done by myself. This is an effort of each and every one person that you see in your room, in this room, and now we're going to be able to recognize most of them at the end. So I want to say thank you for being here. I know it takes a lot away from families, from other activities to be here, so I really appreciate all of you. But mainly also, just like Magda said, as a father, it's most of the time we have the tendency of just dictating, or what we call as if like one information flows only from top to bottom. We have to stop and listen to our kids. What are they going through? What are they listening through? What are they dealing with? Especially coming in from college, from Ethiopia, and coming in and raising our kids in America, we have the tendency of just saying, this is how I have done it for so many years, and this is how you should be, and we try to dictate, and then it creates that conflict between kids and parents. So I sat down with these kids. They have been dedicated so long, and I want to say thank you first for everything that you have done, because they are in college, they are in high school, they have a lot of homework, they have a lot of things that they are going through, and they are very active. If we don't take the time to appreciate these kids, we're going to lose them. We need to understand what our community, the resources that I say, the people, these are the people, and they're also the resources that we have that we need to make sure to connect and listen to. So I'm going to have them introduce their name first, and then we're going to get to the questions. So we'll start with Abysisnia, and then we'll go in circle.
My name is Abysisnia. I'm in 12th grade, and I'm from Springfield, Massachusetts.
My name is Gellila. I'm a junior at UMass Dartmouth.
Hello, I'm Aiden Lama. I'm a senior and I'm from Walden, Massachusetts.
Hi, my name is Hana and I'm a freshman at Suffolk University.
Hi, my name is Meklit and Edllawit. I'm a senior at Walden High School.
Hi, my name is Edllawit. I'm a senior and I come from Cambridge, Massachusetts.
Thank you. So I think the first question will be to Meklit, and then Abysisnia going to do that? No, Meklit and Gellila are going to do the first one. So one thing I want to tell you guys about this question is usually whenever I do, just like Dr. Samson said, whenever I'm bringing someone to the show, I sit down and we go over so many things beforehand so that it can flow and we understand what we're going to go through. Whenever I'm working with the kids, usually I want them to come up with the question from themselves. Because if I'm the one coming up with the question, it's always going to be the same kind of dictation. I sat down and said, this is the plan, this is what I have done when I was in San Diego. I gave them the format to work with, and I said, create something that you really want to talk to your parents, to the community, and come up with the questions. So the questions are not even mine, the questions are theirs. Why? We want to give them the voice. If we say voice to the youth, that the question, the answer has to come from them. Because even if we don't know what to ask them, it's not going to be able to know, because we're always going to ask only the things we want to know. So they came up with this question, so I'm going to be reading them as we go. So first is going to be from Meklit and Gellila. I'll start with Meklit, and then So what is the difference being Ethiopian American versus Black culture? And this is one of the questions, because one of the few topics we're going to touch today are trust, identity, college prep, and mental health. Those are the 4 topics that we're going to try to wrap it as much as we can. And the first one is on identity. So Meklit, if you can get started with that.
So this is kind of going to be like a broad answer, because I wanted every single one of us to touch upon every single question. So I would say that it's mainly like we have different culture and like backgrounds and communities, and although we have like shared aspects as well, I feel like we have a different culture than Black Americans. And I don't want to say that we aren't Black, because I know Habeshas have this really bad stigma where they believe that they're not Black, where a police officer will stop us and be like, oh, you're Habesha, you can keep going, it's okay. But I feel like we have to be able to realize that we're also Black, but at the same time we do have our differences. Like we do have different identities, we do have different cultures. Like we go to church, they also go to church of course, but we have different type of churches. We have different kind of songs, I would say, a culture, everything. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say.
Okay, so I'm going to answer the first part of the question on behalf of Ruth Almaso. Unfortunately, she wasn't able to be here with us today. And she says that she had 2 different experiences since she grew up in 2 different cities in Boston. First one being Cambridge, you know, that's like Habesha Central, that's where all the Ethiopians are. So people will easily be able to identify her as Ethiopian, not just Black, but her true identity. But then she moved to East Boston where there aren't a lot of like Habeshas. And so people just see the outside, and on the outside we are Black, that's our race. So we can't really just dismiss the fact that we are Black and think that we're just Habesha. So she says that it's something that we should just embrace, as well as knowing our true identity, because people don't know the inside. People just see the outside. Like Meklit said, the police stop us, they're not gonna ask, what are you? Are you Ethiopian? And then be like, okay. So, yeah.
So what I want to add on that is just because if we don't prepare our kids at home, when they go out in the community, how they are being perceived, what we say inside the house is going to matter, because it's not just for Ethiopians, but as a whole Africa or other country that we come in, because the distinction here between white and Black is so distinct. When we are raised in Africa, we are all Black. Mainly some white would be there, but the race or the Black thing doesn't come up, so the discussion is not raised, it's not communicated. So when we come into the US, I hate to say it, unfortunately, we have to take the time to let them know that they're Black, because it is really difficult to have that communication, and it has nothing to do with not being Black or not, but we just don't grow up like that, because when you are all, and you go to Europe, most of the kids, they are not being told that you're white, because they're mainly raised as white all over their surroundings. So when we come from Africa, the communication or the kind of things we try to understand, or we become, so all of a sudden as soon as we land in the US, we become Black. And that part is not communicated at home. So when we go out and interact, that communication has to come up. So the identity, who we are as a culture, we speak different language, that also how we integrate with the culture matters. So that comes from the house when they go out, so that they are prepared, because whatever we tell them at home has to be also what they can face in the outside. You have something? Sure.
I also wanted to address like a stigmatism, like when, for example, some parents would be like, oh, like you're hanging out like around the Black people, like you're gonna be like ghetto, like the word ghetto is thrown around a lot, or like certain things like getting your hair done or like your eyelashes done, like you see that and you're like, wow, like this is like not really talked about, but like they're like, oh, why are you doing that? Like that's not a part of our culture, like that's like a Black culture thing, like that's a ghetto thing, like that's like a section off, like type of like we don't talk about it because we're like, oh, like it should never happen in the first place. And I feel like it's important to understand like those are aspects of culture that we should embrace as well. Like, oh, we're Ethiopian, we're Habesha, we're Netala, we get our hair braided, stuff like that. Like, but the fact that like other kids are getting their hair like done in a different way, or getting their eyelashes and their nails done in a different way, it shouldn't be seen as a negative thing, because those are aspects of Black culture we should also embrace. And I feel like it's a hard thing, like most parents don't want to address it, like they're like, oh yeah, just don't do that, like don't wear it like her, like, you know, like the conversations like mothers have with their daughters. And so I just want to say like, yes, like I don't do those things like because of like where I grew up, but like if I were to do them, I don't want other people in the community to judge me for doing those things. And like that type of judgment isn't talked about. And it's like if a girl comes to church with her eyelashes done and her nails done, like that's it, like she went off the wrong path, like she's not doing the right things like when she's not at home with her parents. And I feel like that's just, it shouldn't be judged for character because of that. And we should embrace those type of things. Like even if you're gonna judge her for that, like talk to her about it, like ask her like, oh, like you got that done, like, oh, who influenced you to do that, like stuff like that. Like it should be seen more like conversational, like before you're gonna judge, like ask about it. And that's like also a topic we're gonna talk about like in parenting, like, oh, like they're gonna, parents are going to make assumptions about kids and the people you hang out around, and they're not going to ask about it. They're going to make a judgment and continue on with it. And it's just like a big overall topic, like I feel like needs to be addressed as well. But yeah, those are just like my 2 cents.
I feel like I should have talked a little bit more about where I'm from. Sorry, because I just realized that Ruth was saying that and I was like, oh my gosh. So I grew up in Malden, so that's like, I'm pretty sure that's the most diverse city in Massachusetts. But I would say that my middle school, the people that I hung around were mainly white. So this is kind of branching off from that. It's mainly about identity. But I would say that I was called whitewashed a lot growing up, Oreo, coconut, all those terms. So I've heard it all. I would say that growing up I heard that a lot, but once I moved to high school, that's where, like my high school, I would say that it's majority like Asians and Haitians. I would say that it's around that. And then once I started going to church more often, which I grew up in church, but I didn't really involve myself in the community. Like through Inkudankira is when I really like started involving myself. But I would say that once I started involving myself more in the community, I started seeing like aspects of my culture where I didn't see as often, and I started engaging myself in that. And through that, I feel like it really made me realize that I should embrace my culture more. So like, you shouldn't be afraid of showing your culture is one big thing that I say a lot, because in middle school, again, I grew up around a lot of white people, so I was just like, oh, like, I wouldn't bring injera to school because people would be like, oh, what's that? Why are you eating that? So I'd be so afraid to talk in Amarinya, do all these things. But now I'm like embracing my culture, and I'd say that I'm very happy to be Ethiopian. Wow.
See how powerful they are already. So this is just the beginning. There is more to come. So just for the sake of time, I'll move on a little bit. Another thing that our kids face like this, now most of them are in college, and this question is going to go for Hana, and then Abysisnia can add to it too, to this one. What resources would you like to see established within our community to make the transition into the high school, from high school and college? So that could go to what else you need to be prepared for college applications still. So.
Okay, so obviously I'm in my first year at college, and getting there was a little bit of a rough path. Obviously, I'm the eldest child, so I was kind of like the first string for college applications, like filling out financial aid forms, like all of that, like I was starting it for my family. And I feel like it would have been a little bit easier if I had like somebody like to tutor me or like to mentor me, like, oh, I already went through that. And obviously in our community, we already have a lot of Ethiopian kids that go off to good colleges and like have good futures, like, and it shouldn't like, there should be an easier way to reach out to like these kids and communicate with them and be like, oh, hey, like Gellila, I know you're going off to college, like you already went through this process, like can you help me out? And like with Gellila, it's easy for me to just talk to her, like I know her as like a friend. But like creating like this kind of group, like at schools, like we have tutoring programs and mentorships and stuff, like for like Black people or like people of like specific groups, like they'll cater audiences to you based on who you are. And I feel like if we had one like an Ethiopian community of like mentors, like kids who have careers in specific paths, like, or even like hosting panels and like conversations of people who've made it far in careers, like in law, in medicine, like stuff like that, like hearing it firsthand from like an Ethiopian who grew up here, like who made it, like basically made it out, I guess, like that's what you could say. But like it would be really helpful, like because it is really overwhelming and it is really challenging. And I'm glad to say like my parents were very supportive through all of it, and like I had other friends and people I could reach out to during the process. But for other people who are also like eldest child starting out on their own, like I obviously want to be a resource. Like I try to be a resource to like Meklit and Edllawit, and because I've done it, but I want it to be like there's a community where you could reach out to. Like it's obviously I don't know everybody around in this area. Like I can't help out everybody, but if we had like a source, like a resource, like a place we could go where there's like a group of people you could reach out to and be like, oh hey, like I'm trying to fill out my FAFSA, like my financial aid, like what did you do, or like what documents did you submit, like what were your stats, stuff like that. It'd be really easy for like the transition from high school to college to go.
Abysisnia, I know you just got accepted too, so we're gonna say congratulations first, and you can tell us about that resource too.
So I just finished the college application cycle, so I'm kind of new to all of this, so I definitely don't have as much experience as Hana, but as Hana said, I definitely, I was the first person in my family to go to college in the United States, and it was very hard and was a very strenuous task, at least on my front, because I didn't really know what I was doing. I live in a very predominantly white area in Western Massachusetts, and a lot of my friends, when we were going through the same process in the fall, a lot of them had college aid counselors. Their parents were paying them for them to go to people who would help them get into college, things like that. And obviously my parents, they didn't have the same kind of experience as my other friends who already had parents who already went off to college or maybe had that like kind of legacy boost, et cetera, et cetera. So it was kind of more stressful on my end when I was trying to apply to college just because my friends didn't really understand and I was kind of lost. In terms of like a community group, like Hana was saying, I have a couple of friends who live in the DC area, and one of them in particular, she is really involved in a specific group that actually helps Habesha people, specifically Habesha students and African diaspora students, to get into college with the whole process. Is basically geared for them to have access to college support resources, how to craft essays, how to do financial aid, and a lot of them have gotten accepted into top 20 schools such as Ivy Leagues, et cetera, and they've been very successful in their own endeavors. I wish that we had something similar in our community. I feel like that would be very, very helpful because college is probably one of the most stressful things. Applying to college is probably one of the most stressful things that a young person can go through, and going through it alone can be very hard. It's scary. Thankfully, I was able to get it out, and I had the help of my parents. They helped me a lot. They supported me through the process. Now I'm trying to get financial aid, and I'm still lost in that process as well, but it's a learning process, and having your community to help you through it, especially other Habesha people. I know a lot of Habesha people who have gotten accepted to really, really great schools. I feel like that's one of the things that's really good about our culture. We see a lot of Habesha people doing really, really good things, but having like kind of a coalition of people in our own community who could help guide us through it, I feel like, and establishing that in Boston, Cambridge, and the greater Massachusetts area would be very, very helpful.
So you can see they are the resource now. They are not just the people, they become the resource. Because for the kids that are going through right now asking where should I start, this is what we need to start, this is what we need to build. We're working this strongly, and you're gonna see parents that how we need to be taught to what to look for, just like Abysisnia experienced. Her parents are very accomplished, but they did it outside the US. The US process is different. So we are here understanding that process, and sharing that resource becomes the job, and this is one of the resources that we're going to create. Later on, we're going to announce we have so many accomplished people in this community that are willing to serve and willing to give back. We're going to bring them in for part of the show. So the next one, we're going to jump into Edllawit. So you can give her the mic. And what are the most common misconceptions about mental health in the Ethiopian community, and how do these inceptions impact young people's willingness to seek help?
Yeah, so I think one of the most common misconceptions of that is that it just doesn't happen within Habesha teenagers. Like, a lot of people think that, Habesha parents they give so much to their youth, and when kind of like they speak out, like when Habesha teens speak out about kind of problems that they're facing, others kind of view it as why are they like kind of going through these problems when everything has been handed to them, when their parents have been working so hard for them. And it's like Habesha teens are always like running around, they're trying to do their best, make their parents proud, because they know that their parents have gone through so much to give them the best life that they possibly can have. And I think like when Habesha teenagers kind of individually experience these kind of like feelings and thoughts, and they don't see others, like other Habesha teens also experiencing the same thing, they think that they're alone in their feelings. And kind of when everyone experiences this individually, it further pushes the idea that everyone is in isolation and that everyone has to go through these things by themselves, because at the end of the day, they were given so much and that they shouldn't be going through these feelings. And I think that just kind of hearing stories about people struggling but not feeling comfortable enough to talk about it with their family kind of pushes, wedges a gap between Habesha teens and their parents. And I think normalizing mental health issues and speaking about it and talking to your kids and being like, I understand that you're going through a lot. I understand that you're competing with all of these other students, that you're trying to make a name for yourself, that you're ultimately at the end of the day doing the best you can, and I'm sorry if like there's other like outside pressures on you making you feel like you're not enough. I think that will open a door to more healthy connections between Habesha teens and their parents. And I mean, we're ultimately here to spread the message. I mean, this is for the teens themselves. If your parents don't know what you're going through, then they can't help. So it's kind of a two-way street. Parents need to be more comfortable talking about mental health issues, while the teens themselves need to be more comfortable sharing about their issues with their parents. And we ultimately, like, we need to understand that our parents are here. They're here for us. They want the best for us, and we can't be our best if there are influences dragging us down and there aren't resources there to kind of help build us back up. And so I think just like this goes back to the idea of like colleges and stuff. I think a lot of students face like a lot of mental health issues that come from Habesha teens comes from like school pressures. And I think by like creating these like communities and like places that teens can kind of turn to is a really important step in kind of normalizing the stigma around the fact that mental health issues within teens don't exist. So, like I said earlier, this conversation is really a two-way street between the teen and their parent. And I think at the end of the day, both sides of the conversation need to be more accepting and open. And we as teens need to realize that our parents are here for us, and even though even though they're always kind of asking us to do a lot, it's because they have our best interests at heart. But the parents also need to understand that when teachers are kind of pushing students to be their best, when other students are pushing students to do their best, when the student themselves is pushing themselves to do their best, it's a lot of pressure on them, and it takes a toll on them mentally, physically, emotionally. So I think just like keeping an open mind is what will kind of destigmatize mental health within the Habesha community.
Go ahead. Okay, so I just want to say something like really short. I would say that I know all of us here kind of know each other, not really, like, I know that we're really close through church and everything, but I feel like another thing that kind of connects that and community, like having a community center, and I know that we've been trying, or that people have been saying that they've been trying to build a community center for Ethiopian youth, but having that, like being able to see other people struggling, and that seeing that you're not alone is one big thing that I feel like we should address more. And especially having that community center, because I really want a community center for us. I just know that a bunch of other people, for example, in Malden, they have a Haitian community center, they have a Chinese community center, they have everything. So I just feel like if we have a community center to go to, that we can have all these things that Yoftahe is talking about. So just having like bonds with amongst each other, and having these different things would really help us personally.
So mental health is not a taboo, should not be a taboo. I'll have you added. So just like I can break my fingers, there could be a broken part of the brain that can be fixed. Now with so many signs that are coming up, just because we don't see it, because we don't understand it, we used to fear it. So talking about it, we have to give them the outlet. Obviously they are going through it and we want to deny it so much. And it's not gonna go away just because we deny it. We have to bring it up and give them permission to speak about it, and then they could have that outlet. What is our motto? Who's gonna remember?
Tell us, don't blame us. Yeah.
So that goes both ways. Parents, if we don't tell the kids what we are going through, what's happening, then we cannot blame them. And if the kids don't tell us, they can't blame us either. So they have to take the time to explain to us what they are going through. And as parents, we have also take the time to let them know what's happening. So one more time, what's our motto?
Tell us, don't blame us.
So who wanted to add something?
I just wanted to add something very short on the mental health, because at the same time we can't really blame our parents because they grew up in a different atmosphere. They grew up in Ethiopia. Mental health is a very taboo topic. It's not talked about. So they themselves, even if they had any type of stressful things that they needed to talk about, any type of pressure, they had no outlet. But we do. We are the new generation here, starting the new Ethiopian youth. So now we are open to all these new resources, things that our parents probably didn't go through or had the knowledge about. So now when we talk to them, it's new to them. So they just don't know how to reciprocate that type of help. And since it's just sort of brushed off, they don't really see the need to engage in that topic. So it's just a matter of trying to help them understand and not just blame them and be like, oh, our parents are just, they don't help us, they don't want to talk to us. It's just a matter of we need to help them understand the same way we need to help ourselves understand what we're going through as well. So it's a learning process for everybody because we grew up in different atmospheres and different worlds. So it's I just don't, like you said, tell us, don't blame us. There's no need to blame. And it's just seen as a really bad stigma, but just by talking and just our parents being an open ear to us will help us in the long run. So that's why.
Thank you. So we have about 5 minutes for this panel. I know we could take this all day long, and this is the kind of topic we will talk, we will break it down, and we'll bring it up so we can talk. So we'll take 5 minutes to wrap it up. So next question is for Eden. What are your previous outlet being that have connected you to your community, church, and everything else?
Alright, first off, I want to say, honestly, growing up in the Boston Ethiopian community, we're very blessed and lucky because we have resources such as MESA, which, has provided a lot of events such as Unkurankira, where I've met half of these girls. And for me personally, I've had a full circle moment. I was in the first year of Unkurankira, I was the youngest girl. And so I was surrounded with people like my sister and her friends. And they all served as mentors and advisors. And they're the main reason why I'm proud of being Ethiopian and have no shame in it, because seeing them embrace it throughout their schools and performing for New Year's and stuff, I felt wow, this is something there's no need to be shameful with. And I feel that also I took that aspect and literally last night me and Meklit had a performance and we showed it at our school. So I'm very grateful for that. And also through church as well, which is where I found my sisters, basically them too. And we all grew up together, and being able to connect in a spiritual and are their ethnicities the same. And I feel talking about the being black in Habesha, the differences and our similarities, having friends and sisters like them is what helped me go through those phases, if that makes sense. Having people where you could connect to in both aspects really helps a lot. And I feel we're really blessed to have and if you guys have any young girls or sons, put them in Unkurankira. We'll put out a form. Yeah, because we also learn about their culture's diversity and our rich culture, which is very kurat misaman yasfandegan, honestly. So yeah, that's what I'll say. Unkurankira and Mesa, such as Ethiopian days and all those appreciation dinners. So Adwa coming up March 3rd. Yeah, come as well. Those events also teach us about our history's culture as well. For Adwa, something that's not really celebrated enough in Boston, but we're starting to now, which is really good. And I feel yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Thank you. Like I said, we can talk so much about this. So being part of MESA, that's how it helped me also to grow. We have an amazing people community behind all of this. And sometimes we may see only the dance group or the Adwa, but behind it, there are so many amazing people doing this work. And then these are the product of that. So I want to make sure I'm so proud to be part of myself. So last question for Abyssinia. You have touched up on it earlier. And then so we can wrap it up with that. What community outreach program would you like to see to bridge the gap between Americanized youth and the Ethiopian heritage outside of dancing? Youth center support, we touched up a little bit, growing up as an Ethiopian American.
Yeah, I know Meklit touched upon it a little bit, but community center and things in that similar sort. I know a lot of schools in particular have things such as ESA clubs or Ethiopian Eritrean Student Associations, even starting that within the school level, but that starts with the students. So putting that kind of passion in the students about their culture and giving them that initiative to start clubs such as culture affinity groups that are related to Ethiopian Habesha community is just like the foundation points, the seed that grows the tree. And then starting that at the community center with building a community center where we could have kind of maybe like a boys and girls kind of thing, kind of club thing, but for Habesha people to come after school, to do their homework, to just have a place where they can connect on a just informal level, to meet new people, to meet people of their own culture, and to feel that they have somewhere that they can go to for help, wherever, whatever it may be for. Just having that kind of backing is so important, because I know, at least for myself, I wish I had that. I mean, unfortunately, I don't live in a place where there are a lot of Habesha people, and hopefully later on in my life I will, but as from right now I don't. But if I did have that kind of backing, I know that it would have helped me a lot, because growing up I did have a lot of struggle with my identity and knowing who I was. I was called whitewashed, and Meklit touched upon that as well, but I was called whitewashed a lot because it was hard for me to claim my Habesha culture because I had no backing on that. But starting it very young, having a place where people can celebrate their culture and not be ashamed of it, but instead can promote it and celebrate it in all forms of life, whether it be school, whether it be dancing, whether it be cooking, whatever it may be. Having a place where they can just feel as if they belong is very important at a very young age to, you know, prevent feelings of dysmorphia or feelings of exclusion.
I just want to add something, because I know Abysisnia lives like far away, and like over the summer, like when we do in Nkodankira, it's like all in like the central, like Cambridge area. And like at Ethiopian Day, I met this girl, young girl who was adopted by her family, and she like lived in Connecticut. She came all the way out to like try to be a part of the culture. And I feel like what's also important is like, yes, we talk about like a community center, like someplace physical, but also someplace like even like, yeah, like a group, like even like, I know Facebook groups are talked about a lot, and a lot of Habeshas, they use that, but like someplace like a person could even like call in, Zoom in, meeting other kids a part of the community. Because like I met this girl and I'm like, wow, I wish I could be her friend, and I wish I could like introduce her, like plant her into my life, because like I have all these wonderful resources in this family and like this community, and I couldn't because she lived so far away. So we also like have like, even Abysisnia, like I wish I was closer to her, and I can't be because she lives so far. And just talking about like that distance and like that time, and just making the effort to, even if it's like a Zoom online, like creating a group, like an online group where we can meet up, talk about it, even if it's like a discussion panel, like a post where you ask questions about things you had questions, like, oh my net alarm ripped, like can anybody help me, like does anyone know how to fix this, like stuff like that, where it's like, you know, you could always just text in or like call in and like have this community like at the palm of your hand, like on your phone, like because you know everybody's always on their phone. So like that would be like the ideal situation. Like yes, community center, physical place to be, but also the online, like the virtual community you want to like be able to easily get in contact with, I feel like is very important and not talked about enough. So yeah.
Oh, wow. And you want to add?
Yeah, especially on the online portion. 2 years ago, I don't know if you guys know the ESFNA soccer tournament that happens every year, but my parents took me to the one in Maryland, DC that year, and that's actually where I kind of planted my own kind of initiation for being involved in my own culture. I met so many different people at that event, and I connected with the Habesha community in DC. I met a lot of people who I'm still friends with now, and I know so many people. There's the Habesha community, if you meet one person, you know everyone else. I feel like you meet one person, they know like another person, but it's like a whole branch of people, and that's really what has kept my passion for my culture alive. You know, you don't even need to live in like a very densely populated place with a lot of Ethiopian people, but if you're connected to your culture, if you have that passion and you can connect with anyone anywhere. And you know, on TikTok, on Instagram, on Snapchat, whatever it may be, Habesha youth has connected themselves to everyone, and it's a very powerful thing, and I think that should be utilized even more.
Right. So for me, that's why I call the Yoftahe Show connecting each dot. These are the dots.
Yep.
These are the beautiful dots. These are the amazing stars that we have, that by connecting them, and they're only what, an hour away maybe. But that should, no, I mean, what I'm saying, that's where we come in as parents. You know what I mean? We don't have a problem going into the college parties or calling, I don't know, there is a wedding or whatever, we are there. But these are the places that we have to spend our time. This is where we have to do it. I know at some age they're gonna say we don't need you. I spend every single weekend with my kids. Now I have to make an appointment to see them. So we will reach that point when we get it. But I want us to know, this is what I wanted to present this to the community. If you didn't know the resources that we have that we are not utilizing. Let's give them the power, let's give them the hand, let's listen to them. And at the same time, they're gonna give us the grace to listen to us. Once again, what's the motto?
Tell us, don't blame us.
That's right. So this is a conversation. This is how we need to talk. So please, I want you to say thank you to these kids. So thank you for all the hard work that you have done. I've been talking to them over Zoom. That's another resource that we can use. And we went for Abysisnia, had dinner, all of those things. So through all that process, this is what came out. And this is only just the beginning, because we have not heard so much from them. And we're gonna, so much to share, but unfortunately we have little time. Magda's telling me you're done. So we have to give it back once again. Thank you very much.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, Edel, Hana, Meklit, Abysisnia, Eden, Gellila, and these are the future of the Ethiopian community. So let's see, but I'm okay.